Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have you all here for today's session called CK-12 Simulations and PLIX Interactives. I'm Lindsay, a member of the CK-12 team, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Before I introduce you to my coworkers, Katie and Sonia, who will be demonstrating our PLIX and simulations today, I'd like to make sure everyone is comfortable with the Zoom webinar platform. You should see two different options on your Zoom screen, one for Q&A and one for chat. During today's presentation, whenever you have a question about CK-12, please post it in the Q&A window. You might get a text answer response from our team. We have Star and KDH helping to answer some questions, or some of these we'll acknowledge live with some live demos by KDS and Sonia. The chat window, that's a place for community conversation. We'd love for you all to introduce yourselves. If you're an educator, feel free to share where you live, maybe the subject that you teach. Just make sure in the chat window that you're sending any general posts to all panelists and attendees. You have to actually change that selection option to say all panelists and attendees, not just to CK-12 or the panelists. While we don't anticipate any technical issues during our broadcast, if you are having any trouble with your video or your sound, please let us know in the Q&A or the chat window. Wanted to let you guys know that we do have a resource page for this webinar session. You can find it at the tiny URL listed on the screen. It's tinyurl.com/CK12SimsPlix. I think we'll put that in the chat window as well for you guys to access. This is a reference page. It's a front and back, so two pages that you can use to follow along during the presentation, or likely maybe you're going to save it or you're going to print it later if you'd like at a later date to access it. Oh no, I just got a notification that you might wait a second, maybe we have the permissions on that document incorrect. If KDH, if you could check, it looks like people are trying to access it. We might not have shared it correctly. So we'll get that going in just a second for you, okay, on that resource page. But why don't we go ahead and get started. Again, we'll put it in the chat window when it's all ready to go. And I'm going to introduce you to KDS, who's going to talk about today's core content.
Thanks, Lindsay, and thank you to everyone who joined us today for today's session on CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives. Today, we're going to highlight 3 different types of interactives. We'll scale up from the manipulatives found throughout our latest FlexBooks, FlexBooks 2.0, to the diverse PLIX, to the full portal simulations. The interactives in FlexBooks 2.0 allows students to actively experiment with concepts within the book itself. We will highlight Science and Math PLIX, which stand for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. This tool allows users to animate ideas through simple interactions. Also, we will be discussing our science simulations, which enable learners to discover the scientific principles that govern a real-world setting in a fun and interactive way. Before we get into the core content of the webinar, we'd like to find out a little bit more about your familiarity with these interactives. You'll see a poll here in a few seconds that will prompt you to respond to a question. Okay, so here's the question. How familiar are you with CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives? You can select all answer choices that apply. I am new to them. I use PLIX occasionally. I use simulations occasionally. I use PLIX frequently. I use simulations frequently. I'll pause for a few seconds to let you finish answering this poll. Remember, please select all that apply to you. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so it looks like a lot of you are new to our interactives. So this is a great time for us to tell you all about them. Okay, now let's move on and discuss interactives. In this first section of the webinar, I'll discuss CK-12's newest books, Interactive FlexBooks 2.0. Next, we'll talk about PLIX interactives and PLIX Corner. Our goal is to get you ready to try interactives in your class this week. So CK-12 recently released Interactive FlexBooks 2.0, which are filled with interactives. This is a section from the Algebra 2 book. Students can read through the text, look at pictures, and manipulate graphs, figures, tables, and equations without having to leave the book. The books even have full-screen interactives like PLIX and simulations. In this book, interactives are designed to be an integral part of the lesson, not just supplementary. This is cutting-edge online textbook technology. Interactive FlexBooks are online textbooks that are populated with digital manipulatives and PLIX interactives, which we will go into in depth later in this webinar. We currently have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and Physics interactive books up on the site. Sonia will tell you more about the physics book. Each curriculum is rigorous, and the math books are fully aligned with Common Core state standards. Like everything at CK-12, the books are free. To find the books, just click Try It Now in the FlexBooks 2.0 banner on the CK-12 homepage. The link takes you to a web page with this URL. The functionality of the interactives are tightly integrated with each course. For example, this interactive is designed for a lesson on comparing function types: linear, exponential, quadratic, and rational. The lessons in the interactive FlexBooks are also full of real-world applications and PLIX. PLIX are similar to the embedded interactives that we just looked at, except PLIX can be accessed outside of the book. PLIX have more features, and they cover a wide breadth of math and science concepts. You can learn more about the interactive FlexBooks by joining another webinar, Common Core Math on CK-12, which is on Wednesday, November 13th at 3 p.m. We also have an advanced FlexBook editing webinar on Tuesday, October 30th at 3 p.m. All right, now let's check out PLIX. So PLIX stands for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. It is a visual learning modality that allows users to animate ideas and a concept through simple interactions. We have over 1,130 interactives that span both math and science concepts and can be filtered by subject, keyword, concept, or standards. Also, PLIX, like everything offered by CK-12, is free to all users. All you have to do is sign into CK-12 to access them. All right, so after you've opened up a PLIX, the first thing you do is read the description on the left. The description explains what the interactive is about and provides directions on how to interact with it. Next, use the interactive by following the prompt in the instructions. In the interactive, you can explore the concept. If you need to start over, there's a refresh button at the bottom that you can use. After you've used the interactive, click the challenge button below the description. This opens up the challenge questions. The questions often build upon one another to help students reach a deeper understanding of a concept. The final question is a discussion question that you can use for a class conversation. This is a great place to think about differentiating learning by having students try the first few questions or work their way through to the higher level thinking and discussion questions. As a side note, don't worry about trying to write down all the teaching strategies that we mentioned. A full list is posted earlier in the chat window, and we'll also send it as a follow-up in this webinar. Along the toolbar at the top of a PLIX, you'll see that there are even more features. We will discuss more of these features as we go. So now let's dive into a PLIX. This PLIX is about lunar phases. The description of this PLIX includes a prompt on how to interact with it. Notice that it says to drag the red point. Moving the red point changes the phases of the moon in accordance with the labels on the slider. At the top right of this PLIX is an orange button to assign to class. You can assign PLIX to students in a CK-12 class group by clicking on that button. If you want to learn more about assignments, feel free to ask us in the Q&A window. Let's look at another PLIX for a second. Before we explore the PLIX itself, you can see in the top right the options to give feedback and adjust the size of the text by clicking the icons in the upper right corner of the screen. You'll notice that this PLIX is about rules for dilation and has the same description and prompt area, the simple interaction, and challenge questions. This PLIX uses two of the most frequently seen question types, multiple choice and select all that apply. If students are struggling with a question, they can often find hints to help answer the questions. Note that if you get an answer wrong, you'll see the option to show the correct answer. Once again, this is a learning, not an assessment tool. So students will be able to get immediate feedback and guidance when they attempt a question. Students can also use the Learn More option to read about the matching concept and gain a better understanding of it. Encouraging students who are struggling to access these resources is another great way to personalize and support student learning. So, now that you've seen two PLIX, you may be wondering where you can get your hands on them. You can access our PLIX through the website on any computer or tablet with a screen size of 9 inches or larger. You can also use the search bar to find content and modalities, including PLIX, or you could open PLIX from within any concept. You can access PLIX through the circular PLIX icon on the homepage. Alternatively, you can jump directly to the PLIX Browse page using www.ck12.org/PLIX. Let's see what that looks like. So once you're on the Browse page, you have a few options. Remember to sign in if you haven't, and then you can choose your branches. This will help you to filter your PLIX according to areas you're teaching. If you've done this and you want to update those branches, you could click on Change Branches. In addition to searching on the main site, you can search within the PLIX Browse page. Here you can search for a title, concept, or even CCSS or NGSS standard. You can find PLIX in all branches of math and science. To achieve this depth of coverage, we've developed some really diverse PLIX. Some PLIX are exploratory based, while others check for student understanding. Some PLIX are abstract, and others are based on the real world. Let's dive into a few examples. You can also share your idea for a PLIX with the interactives team by clicking the link above the search bar. Okay, so exploration-based PLIX. These PLIX are sandboxes in which a student can play around and experiment with an idea. In the distance between 2 points taxicab distance PLIX, students explore two different ways to find distance between two locations. In the Ohm's Law PLIX, students explore how Ohm's Law affects the current in a circuit. A great teaching strategy would be to have students explore a PLIX and then share their different experiences and what they learned with each other. PLIX to check for understanding. So in some PLIX like these, students get feedback to check their understanding of a concept. The structure of water PLIX allows students to rotate water molecules to form hydrogen bonds. In the law of cosines PLIX, students find the missing side lengths of triangles using law of cosines. These PLIX could be used as a review of a concept, so students could see how well they understand a concept before an assessment. In many PLIX, students can manipulate graphs, diagrams, or variables, like in these abstract PLIX. In this sine and cosine PLIX, students can explore how the values of trig functions relate to a given angle. In the refraction band gap PLIX, users change the band gap of a substance to see if a photon can fit through. As a lesson, you could have students screenshot a few different states for a graph or a set of variables and explain what changed and how the change affected the graph or situation. All right, we also have some PLIX that are based in the real world, and we use them to teach math and science concepts. In the Rainforest Map Quest PLIX, students can locate villages on a map using a scale. In the Rate of Dissolving Sugar PLIX, students observe what happens to a sugar cube in tea as the temperature changes. For these real-world PLIX, try having students brainstorm other applications of a particular concept, or even design their own PLIX to address a concept. As you've seen throughout these PLIX, there are a number of different ways to have students work with and use PLIX. In class, as a warm-up, as enrichment, as a remedial activity, or to explore a concept. At home, as a homework assignment, or students can post answers to PLIX questions on CK-12. To differentiate instruction, using challenge questions, learn more, and explorations. And to foster conversation, because the last question of each PLIX is a discussion question, and some lead to PLIX Corner. Okay, so I've mentioned PLIX Corner a couple of times now, so let's talk about what it is and how to find it. The CK-12 Cafe is a place where you can ask, help, and share with other users. Just click the link to the cafe at the top of the CK-12 homepage to get there. We're going to enter PLIX Corner where users answer intriguing PLIX discussion questions. Here's a great example of a recent discussion in the PLIX Corner. The PLIX Science Question of the Week was from the Temperature and Temperature Scales PLIX. You can assign the PLIX featured in a PLIX Corner post and have your students join this conversation and discuss their ideas with classmates and students across the world. One of the standards of mathematical practice is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. The PLIX Corner is a great place for students to discuss their reasoning about a topic. Each week, CK-12 features one math PLIX and one science PLIX to ask questions of the week. We've been noticing more and more classes leaving answers to PLIX questions en masse, sometimes with notes of encouragement from their teacher. If you would like to see a specific PLIX featured that you want your students to respond to in PLIX Corner, let us know. On the next slide, I'll let you know how to get in touch with us. All right, I would like to challenge you to get involved. Try out PLIX and the interactive FlexBooks 2.0. Share interactives that you love with your students and other teachers. And tell us at CK-12 what you think by reaching out to us at Facebook, Twitter, or share your idea for a PLIX. Give it a shot. All right, have fun exploring our new interactives. So I've told you a lot about PLIX. Now it's your turn to find a PLIX that you could use in your classroom. Press Escape to escape from the Zoom window. Open up your internet browser and go to ck12.org. Okay. And for those of you staying on the Zoom window, you can watch me find PLIX on the CK-12 site. All right, so here we are at the CK-12 homepage, and it's time for your first challenge. Navigate from the CK-12 homepage to the PLIX Browse page. So you scroll down and click on this little PLIX icon, and it'll open up the Browse page. If it's your first time on the PLIX Browse page, or if you've not signed into CK-12, you will be prompted with a tutorial on how to use PLIX. With that, this might be a good time to stop and see what questions we have coming in about PLIX and the interactive FlexBooks before we move on to the second half of this webinar, where Sonia will discuss simulations. Please join us back in your Zoom window to participate in the chat and Q&A.
Yeah, Katie, it looks like we have one question that we're going to answer here in the Q&A. Now's a good time for any of you who are thinking of other questions. Go ahead and submit them. Katie, one question here that Patty is asking is, can PLIX be used for elementary and secondary grades?
Yeah, absolutely. Secondary grades, I am assuming you mean middle school through high school. That's what the majority of our PLIX were designed for. But if you look for in the arithmetic branch of PLIX, you'll find a whole bunch that you can use in elementary school as well.
Okay, I'm kind of looking through the chat window just in case anybody posted their questions over there. Somebody asked if you'll be able to see this presentation later on, and yes, we do record all of our webinars and we post the archive within 24 hours on our webinars page, which is ck12.org/webinars. So you'll definitely be able to access it later if you would like. Let's see, we just got another question in. Is there a way for students to submit answers to questions on the website, or do they need to use another platform such as Google Classroom? Also, are there answer keys for the challenge questions? I'll let you take that one, Katie.
Sure. Yeah, so they can submit their answers to the PLIX questions directly within the PLIX. So actually I could open one up to show you real quick. So when they do their challenge me, they can just submit them straight in there. But these answers don't get reported directly to the teacher. If you're looking for PLIX questions that do get reported to the teacher, many of our PLIX have a link to PLIX Corner in the very last question, and students can type in their answers and you can see everybody's responses. And I'm sorry, what was the last part of that question?
I think you handled most of that. Question was, are there answer keys for the challenge questions?
Answer keys. No, we don't have a separate answer key, but students do get immediate feedback about if they're getting it right or wrong. So here, I'm just going to type in something and you'll be able to see that we got it incorrect, but then we can show the correct answer. So students always have the option to see what the actual answer was.
Okay, and I think Lynn was just asking a clarification question. Oh, it looks like one of our team members answered it. Just about, again, that if when they get to the challenge question, it will divert them to the CK-12 Cafe, the PLIX Corner, and students will be able to type in their answers there, and that's a public view that any of the other classmates and teacher can see the responses and interact that way.
Yeah, that's true. You can also reply to other people's posts on the PLIX Corner as well.
Yes. Here's a question about devices. Do PLIX work well on iPads?
Yes, they do.
Any guidance on size on the iPads?
We're looking at devices that are 9 inches or larger. So like a Nexus 9 is fine. But if you're talking about your cell phone, PLIX aren't going to load there because they have so much with the questions and the interactive and everything.
Okay, well, why don't we give Katie a break here for just a second. Keep your questions coming with Q&A. She'll be back on here shortly. But we're going to go ahead and start the second part of this webinar, which is talking about our simulations. So I'm going to steal my screen back here and going to introduce you to Sonia, who is, going to show you some really awesome things. We're really proud of both our PLIX and our simulations. And so Sonia, why don't you take over?
All right, I'm being tagged in. Great job, Katie. That was such a wonderful presentation. And I just want to say hi to all of you out there. It was so cool to see you all introduce yourself in the chat window from Kenya, Spain, Philippines, Sydney, Canada, Indonesia, all across the United States. I'm joining you from San Diego, so I hope you're doing well. And I'm really excited to show you all our CK-12 interactive simulations, which we lovingly refer to as Sims. So these really are a groundbreaking new type of digital learning tool, unlike anything else out there, in that our simulations overlay scientific and mathematical principles onto a real-world setting. These Sims really support an inquiry-based learning experience, and they promote students to connect the often abstract STEM concepts with their everyday applications. They differ from the PLIX that Katie just introduced you to in that they're almost more of a portal. So they're meant to kind of pull students into this real-world setting. They allow them multiple ways to interact within that setting, and they connect many concepts together. But like the PLIX and all other resources on CK-12, they are all free. So simply sign in to access multiple sims or download the free app to your tablet device. And I'll talk more about the app later. So in this portion of the webinar, I will show you how to navigate the Sims Browse page, and then I'll help familiarize you with the general structure of our simulations. I'll also highlight the many embedded sim features and resources. I'll share some ideas I have for using the Sims as an instructional tool in class or at home to differentiate instruction and to dispel some common science misconceptions. I am also excited to discuss the newly released FlexBook 2.0 platform and kind of show you the beautifully embedded Sims in our interactive physics for high school FlexBook 2.0 and show you how you now have the ability to embed our simulations. My main goal, like Katie's, is that by the end of this webinar, you really feel excited and equipped to use CK-12 simulations in your class. So my suggestion is pick one sim and experiment with it, even as early as in class tomorrow. Just go for it. Okay. So this slide I'm sharing with you here is actually from my classroom. So I used to be a classroom teacher, and this is an actual picture taken of a whiteboard in my physics class a few years ago. And I'm gonna admit, I spent like my entire lunch period trying to draw this image for my students just to relate the law of reflection with what they see in a mirror. And thankfully, CK-12 has provided a much more compelling learning tool, and we teachers now have time to eat our lunch. So let me show you how I would teach law of reflection today. This is the prom night sim, a result of the beautiful collaboration between science teachers, animators, and software developers at CK-12. The prom night sim begins with this intriguing question, and then it advances through a video explaining the basic concepts and posing further questions to get students to really think about the underlying physics behind this real-world scenario, right? Getting ready for the prom. And this video I recorded in like fast forward, so it goes a little more slowly, and I'll talk more about how we can use the introductory video later. So the next scene in the sim I refer to as the sandbox, and it's just because it's meant for users to play around and discover new things, like a kid in a sandbox. In this interactive environment, you'll find sliders for certain physical variables and graphs, or here we have responsive animations to illustrate the relationship between these variables. Next, there are 3 questions that could be answered by adjusting the sliders in a particular way. So we call them slider-based questions. And then finally, each simulation will end with a set of real-world examples that invites the students to think about applications of those underlying concepts in different physical situations to promote continued learning. So hopefully after getting a sneak peek of this sim, you're really excited to see more. And we have lots more. All right, so there's many ways to access the Sims from within the CK-12 website, but I'll just highlight the similar pathway that Katie introduced for the PLIX, and you can just click on that simulation icon on our homepage. So this web address, www.ck12.org/sims, also provides a simple shortcut for you, your students, or colleagues that will just direct you straight to the Sims Browse page. So if you want to post that on your class website or in your learning management system, feel free to. In our collection of 120 Sims, we have bobsleds, music recitals, swimming, archery, airplanes, and more. These, as you can see, are all real-world settings that are really hard to replicate in a classroom. Our collection of Sims are currently divided into 2 different branches, physics and chemistry. So right now, you're looking at the physics tab. The first row features 3 of my favorite Sims for topics commonly taught in a physics classroom around this time of the school year. we have on the far left the driverless car sim. And this sim poses the opening question: how does a self-driving car know where to go? And it prompts students to practice vector addition in a really fun way. The At the Crossroads sim in the middle can be used to teach conversions of systems of measurement. And then on the far right there, Erwin and Ruthie sim, which is really one of my personal favorites, it allows students to adjust the velocity of two racing robots to learn all about motion and graphing motion. So like I said before, I just want to highlight all these scenarios are very hard to replicate in the classroom. Now, for all you math, or if you teach different branches of science, although these sims are formally labeled physics, their topical coverage is broad. And we do have sims that relate to concepts regarding physical science, earth science, astronomy, and math. So even if you're not a physics teacher, I encourage you to visit the Sims Browse page, and I really am confident that you can find something for your course and level. So stick with me here. All right, so just to be sure to convince you, I'd like to highlight some other sims that can be used to teach important math concepts. So here we have the portrait gallery sim that can be used to teach vector addition and other important concepts related to trigonometry. Both the water fountain and archery sims have to do with projectile motion and involve parametric equations. And then the stadium wave sim can be used for a more complicated sinusoid problem. Like I said earlier, although these sims are just labeled physics or chemistry, there are many that can be used to highlight real-world applications connected to a variety of STEM concepts. So check out that Browse page. So here we are going back to the Browse page. If you see there, I've clicked now on the Chemistry Simulations tab, and I've gained access to 15 chemistry sims. These are still in the beta stage of development, so you'll see the beginning of the full structure that you will get kind of used to in our physics sims. These chemistry simulations all provide the microscopic explanations for the macroscopic observations of the world around us. And I know you chemistry teachers are smiling out there because that is like the goal of your class. So we're helping you in that important work. So the first three you're looking at here, the going fishing sim, students can use to explore what makes an object float or sink. The airbag sim allows students to investigate the chemical reactions that cause an airbag to inflate. And then the hot pack cold pack sim provides a great everyday model for students to associate with exothermic and endothermic reactions. I hope you will explore and experiment with using these new sims in your classroom. And again, please provide us with your feedback. We're always wanting to improve our sims and hear about your experience. So there's actually a link within each sim that's titled feedback, and let us know what you think and how it goes. Okay, another exciting announcement is that we offer a free CK-12 physics simulations app for your iOS and Android tablet devices. So you can see there highlighted by clicking on either of these two icons on the Sims Browse page, you and your students can easily download the app for free at the App Store or the Google Play Store today. And I think we posted that link in the chat bar as well. Now I want to highlight a few things about this app. It's only for tablet devices. So if you're listening to me right now and you're going on your phone or the App Store, you're not going to see it. You have to be on a tablet device. So all of our sims, whether accessed online or via the app, require a 9-inch screen or larger. And it's just like Katie mentioned, in order to really get a valuable learning experience and be able to interact with the sliders and read the graphs, we need that larger 9-inch screen. The exciting thing about the app is that it allows you and your students to download individual sims to your tablet devices for offline use. This is awesome. So say goodbye to wasting that precious class time loading the software or guiding students through multiple clicks to access the simulation. All of the sims are HTML5 based and can be launched on our website or via the app with just one click. So just imagine this. A simple homework assignment involves asking your students to download a particular sim to their tablet device so that when prompted in class, they can all launch the sim quickly and easily without any threat of Wi-Fi or loading issues interrupting the lesson. The CK-12 team really has worked so hard to ensure that you never lose a learning moment in your classroom. So I hope you're all smiling now with that good news, and I hope you download the app and explore after this webinar. Or if you're bored now, you're probably gonna go on and download that, but hopefully you're not, so. All right, we'll go here to the next. So there's many ways to use the Sims Browse page to find a sim for your particular class. You can simply scroll down. That's really easy. You can type keywords there in that space in the search bar, or you can sift through the filters there on the left. So if you click on the filters, you'll see here that you're able to filter our collection of sims by concept or NGSS standards. And these concepts and standards are also listed under each simulation. In addition, there is a worksheet link under each sim. When you click on that worksheet link, an arrow icon, so you're going to click on that arrow icon, and a worksheet version of the sim pops up that can be easily downloaded as a PDF. So it'll kind of look like this. I also want to note we recently released a new way to access the worksheet from directly within the sim that I'm going to show you at a later time. So there are a variety of ways in which these worksheets can be used, but I think it's most important to note that all of the embedded features and content in the sims are accessible in worksheet format here. So if internet is an issue at your school, or you just like to have a handout that will help guide students in using the sims, or even if your students just respond better to turning something in, I hear you. These worksheet resources are currently available for all the physics sims, and those chem sim worksheets will be coming down the road. Okay, so this slide shows some images of the 4 main windows in our ramp and piano sim. So this sim is about force, distance, and work, and how this relationship can be manipulated with a simple ramp. I used to begin my physics curriculum with investigating simple machines and think this is a great sim to introduce students to important concepts related to physics. One of the most unique things about our simulations is their consistent structure. Starting with an introductory video, moving on to the interactive sandbox and slider-based questions, then ending with other related real-world examples. So I think you'll find that after using 1 or 2 sims, your students will no longer have to focus their attention on how to use the digital tool, and instead will be able to focus on learning the concepts, which is much more important in my personal view. So starting with the first kind of piece, this is a snapshot of the introductory video of the hot oven sim, which enables students to explore the difference between heat, temperature, and thermal energy. So like all sim intro videos, the font size can be changed by clicking on those 3 little A's on the top right corner. You can play or pause the video at any time. And for repeat users of the sim, the video can also be skipped. You can see that on the far left corner. Now here's some ideas I have for you for using this introductory video. I might project this question on the screen in my classroom, right? What's the difference between temperature and heat? And prompt students to complete a quick write as a warm-up activity. So right when the bell rings, students put their pen to paper for 3 minutes, writing whatever comes to mind in response to this question. Then I could imagine pressing play and walking students through the introductory video in a discussion format. So this next slide shows the interactive sandbox environment of the cliff diver sim that allows students to explore the acceleration due to gravity. So in every single interactive sandbox, you'll almost always see one or two graphs at the top representing the situation, as well as sliders that allow you to manipulate the basic parameters, as well as a play button. So first of all, each slider has an information tag, that little I, and it can be activated to learn more. These are really helpful to students on like what that slider does and the meaning behind that variable. The graphs have many features activated by that gear symbol. So you can see it highlighted there. Users can get information about the graph, zoom in to see the graph more clearly, hide the graphs, or compare two trials by clicking on Enable Last Run. So if you click the gear, you can see info, zoom, hide graph, enable last run. So just kind of some teaching strategies I'd like to share. I think it would be just a great exercise to project this sandbox on a screen in class. Then what I would do is I would use the gear symbol and I would hide both of those graphs. I would set the sliders a certain way, maybe on the highest cliff and the lowest air resistance like it is here. And I would challenge students to predict, right? Sketch your predictions regarding what the graphs would look like on a whiteboard. So you can imagine your students working in groups, sketching how the graph will look like on their whiteboards. And then very dramatically, you can drop the graphs down and reveal the actual results as they show here in the simulation, and compare and contrast and have a really good class discussion. So I hope you'll try that one out. Now, the information bar at the top of every sandbox can be used to differentiate instruction for your students. So here, for students who are stuck or need more help, there's a tab labeled Tutorial, which opens a 3-minute YouTube video screencast that carefully details how the simulation works by yours truly. And in addition, there's always a link available to concepts that highlight relevant material in the CK-12 website. And for students who are up for a challenge, the Challenge Me questions provide a few related deep thinking, open-ended questions. So here in this one interactive environment, students who are struggling are supported, students who are ready to move on are challenged, and all students are prompted to be curious and have fun. This is a snapshot of the slider-based questions in the Sprinter Sim, and it allows students to explore friction by investigating why sprinters wear spiked shoes for running. So you will receive immediate feedback on your submission, and there is a way to create new slider-based questions so that you, as the instructor, can tailor the sim to your specific course or level. I could envision prompting students to answer the slider-based questions in pairs during class. And I could also see the completion of slider-based questions as an awesome homework assignment, because they are included in that sim worksheet, and there is sufficient space below each question in the worksheet, so students can record their answers and reasoning and turn it in the next day for homework. And lastly, this is a snapshot of the real-world examples at the end of the Gone Fishing Chemistry Sim that I mentioned earlier about density and floating. I think it would be a fun to prompt students to do further research on one of these examples for homework. So pick one that interests you, research it, and come back tomorrow, share your findings with your classmates. You can also customize the simulations by adding more real-world examples by clicking on that plus button. Another idea would be to prompt students to create their own example and upload it here, adding to our bank of community contributed content. I actually introduced this idea during a previous webinar, and I'm excited to announce that a few teachers actually took me up on it, and they did it. So if you click on the community contributed content for the Gone Fishing Sim, you will now see that there are over 25 examples in the community contributed tab that seem to be student generated. So I think students would get just a thrill out of seeing their work displayed like this, and I hope you'll try it out in the upcoming weeks. this is something that I just like to share with all those science teachers out there. This is a chart I created that highlights some of those really kind of deep-rooted science misconceptions and a related sim that you can use to dispel it, right? Because that's our job as a teacher, is just to like dispel those common misconceptions. So there are some really good ones here. That first one, particles of solid have no motion, right? That's so many students believe that. And you can use the building bridges sim to highlight the solid particles of the Golden Gate Bridge that are actually jiggling. The animations in that sim are awesome. On the second one there, that mass and weight are the same thing. You can dispel this notion by using the astronaut training chamber sim to show how the mass on various planets stays the same, but the weight or the force due to gravity differs. And this sim even allows students to explore the gravitational constant on Dione, Saturn's moon. And I'm actually going to show you this sim next. This chart is linked in the chat window, so if you want to print it out or save it, it's in PDF form there for you. Okay, so as mentioned, CK-12 recently released interactive FlexBooks 2.0, which are just filled with interactives. So let's take a closer look at this time. So here we are on that current CK-12 homepage. And as you can see, Katie mentioned there's like a banner there. It says new FlexBooks 2.0, try it now. So let's click on that. And then you see like a general overview of the FlexBook 2.0 platform and a get started. So let's just get started. And it's going to bring me to the browse page. So here are those 3 interactive math books that Katie mentioned earlier. And then you're going to see 6 science books that were released this summer. And these books include all the updated features of the new 2.0 platform. So as you can see, the only one that currently has interactive in its title is the physics book. And that's simply because almost every single physics lesson has a sim or PLIX embedded in it. However, hold tight, we are currently working on embedding our interactives throughout each of these science FlexBooks with the goal of eventually being able to make them all truly interactive. So please stay tuned. That is something we are working on. So if we click on that interactive physics for high school FlexBook, this is kind of what it looks like. You have your units. And I'm just going to click on the forces and Newton's laws unit because that's often taught in the first semester. And I'm going to click on that concept of weight. So here you can see I have the option to start, and I have some other ways to learn. So I'm going to hit start. And you can see it just offers that reading with pictures that illustrate the difference between mass and weight and some example problems. And then voila, this beautifully embedded CK-12 interactive. So this is the astronaut training chamber sim I mentioned earlier, and it asks the big question, how much weight could you lift on the moon? So students can launch the interactive in full screen directly from within the read. And on the top right, they can access the worksheet right there. Now here's the really cool part. Then they have the ability to escape back into the read without ever losing their spot or opening another link or window. I think I heard some wows out there. Totally. I mean, this is awesome. I'm really excited about this. So another thing I wanted to highlight in the FlexBook 2.0 platform is we have linked related content. So basically here you're looking at, this is a TED Ed video, do way less on an elevator. There's a study guide. There's that astronaut training chamber sim. There's the mass versus weight PLIX. The weight of gold is a real world application. And then that CK-12 mass versus weight is like a quick tutorial video. So what I just like to highlight is that basically all of these related modalities have been curated by our team to kind of fit with the reading in this cohesive curriculum. Some ideas I have for using this is I could imagine opening this read as a warm-up, engaging with the sim in class, maybe doing some of those example problems. And then I could imagine ending class by asking students to pick a related modality of their choice for homework. and write a paragraph describing what they learned. So after seeing this, I hope you teachers out there, math or science, will check out, these interactive books and attend our future webinars to learn more about that FlexBook 2.0 platform. Another cool feature that was just released was that each sim now has embed codes available. So if you click on those 3 dots on the top right corner of every sim toolbar, it'll open to some options. Now here I also want to highlight that's how you access the worksheet from within the sim. So you can see worksheet right above, and then you see embed. There's an option for embed. So if you click on that, it'll open to a screen with an embed code, meaning if you've customized the FlexBook and you'd like to embed the sim into your own FlexBook or your LMS system, so on and so forth, we have made those available to you. So I hope you have fun embedding those and making it easy for your students to access them. All right, and we just kind of a quick thing here. We really are excited to announce that we're actually partnering with physics teachers around the world, and they're volunteering to translate our sims. So far we've been able to translate our sims into Korean, German, Chinese, and Greek are coming soon. So they are available on our site in those languages at the moment, but we're really hoping that if you're listening out there and you can help us, that you'd provide us with your contact information by filling out that Help Us Translate Google form. I would just be so grateful for any help you could offer. These translations are really central in helping us achieve our mission of providing free, high-quality physics resource to every student around the world. So that will conclude our Sims part of the webinar. And this is just like a quick recap because I know I threw a lot of information your way, but really, the main takeaway I want to offer you is that I just hope you will sign up for CK-12 if you haven't already. Sign in, download that free app, explore and experiment with using the Sims in your class, even this week, hey, maybe even tomorrow. Have fun. As you know, because you are all amazing teachers, there's really no better way to learn than just to jump in and try it out. So I'll turn it over to Lindsay, but I'll stay here to answer all those questions that you have.
Well, it looks like our team's been doing a good job of keeping an eye on the Q&A, so there aren't any questions in there at the moment, but please type in any questions that you guys have before we wrap up this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and go through some kind of concluding information just to be time sensitive here, and then Katie and Sonia will both be able to take back over the screen and do any live demos of anything that would be helpful to you all. So just for a little bit of kind of wrap up information from me right now, wanted to make sure you guys knew about this page. You can find it in the footer of CK-12 or go to the link that's on the screen, ck12.org/tools and apps. Sonia mentioned earlier that CK-12 has an app that you can download for simulations for your iPads. So if you visit this page, you can learn about that app. And then you can also see a list of all of the learning management systems that we integrate with. More information on that, again, is available on this page if you're interested in assigning either PLIX or Sims to your classes. As you've seen throughout this presentation, PLIX and Sims, they're just a few of CK-12's robust resources. If you'd like to see an overview of all of our resources, this is a pretty good place to start here. That's ck12.org/overview. You're going to see additional information as well as overview videos for our FlexBooks, adaptive practice, learning management systems, and our cafe. So if you're just wanting to know more about CK-12, this is a great place for you to explore. And speaking of the cafe, I know Katie referenced this quite a bit earlier. This is a place where you guys can have a conversation, you can network with other CK-12 users, and get support from our staff, the CK-12 Cafe. From our homepage, you click on Cafe to see our various forums for both students and for educators. For educators, we usually recommend that you guys join our Jumpstart for Educators Cafe. And we do have some state-specific forms on there as well if you want to see if your state is already joining the conversation. Upcoming webinars, we have 2 more coming up during the month of October that hopefully will interest you. On Thursday, October 18th, you can join us for a short 30-minute session on CK-12 integration with Google Classroom. So if you are a Google Classroom user and you are excited about what CK-12 offers, attend this session and we will quickly, get you very comfortable with creating assignments, and we'll show you how our system integrates with Google Classroom. Then on October 30th, we're going to be running an advanced FlexBook editing session. We did the kind of intro FlexBook session earlier this month, and for any of you who are wanting to know more to take your FlexBooks to the next level, we'd really encourage you to join this session. You can register for any of our upcoming webinars or see any of the archived ones on a variety of topics at ck12.org/webinars. I also just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder about that resource page. Sorry, it was totally my fault that I had permissions wrong at the beginning. You should all be able to access it now. This is a handout that you can download and print or just save it for later on when you're thinking about PLIX and SIMS. I also wanted to say that each summer we run an intensive professional development program for educators looking to become CK-12 certified. And to do that, to become certified, educators attend a series of 5 or more live webinars, watch 2 on-demand sessions, and then complete the matching assignments. So we completed our program in July, but if you're interested in becoming certified during the school year, today's session can count toward one of those live session requirements. What we ask of you, I know, like I said, the real program is during the summer, but of course we want to help any of you who've joined us live and are putting in the time. We want to help you meet those requirements and become CK-12 certified throughout the school year. So email us at jumpstart@ck12.org. and we'll be able to reply with the matching assignment. Or you can also go to ck12.org/certified to learn more about what I'm talking about right now. We've got a form on there where you can register your interest in being involved in the Certified Educator Program. Kind of lastly here, before we end the webinar, we do encourage all of you to fill out a short questionnaire to give us feedback on the content and presentation of today's webinar. We always want to improve, and so this link, it's another tiny URL. It's going to be in the chat window. It's CK12 Webinar 1819. We love to hear from you guys, so if you could take a minute and fill this out, that would be awesome. We will also be sending this link out in a follow-up email. And I also wanted to say, if you need a certificate documenting your participation in today's webinar, you can fill that out in this feedback form or email us at jumpstart@ck12.org. And so here's just kind of the last few contact information. You will be supported by our team. Jumpstart@ck12.org is a great place to email. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter @CK12 Foundation. If you want to see what was going on with the summer with CK12 Certified, hashtag CK12 Certified or hashtag CK12 Foundation. So we are about at the hour mark, so any of you who do need to go, you're welcome to go, but I'm gonna ask Katie and Sonia here. I've been talking and not minding the Q&A, so I'll ask one of them to turn on their mics and start fielding any questions that you guys have. So.
Okay, I think there was one question about where to find the PDF worksheets. So why don't I share my screen, and then you guys can kind of give me any more questions that I need to answer. So, okay, PDF worksheets. So we'll start from the home page where hopefully you're used to by now, CK12 homepage. I'm going to scroll down as Katie suggested, and there's that PLIX icon and there's the SIMS icon we mentioned. So click on that. And this is now what we refer to as the SIMS Browse page. So I'm going to pick that driverless car sim that I mentioned. It opens to how does a self-driving car know where to go. And I'm going to access the worksheet from within the sim. So here's the toolbar, here's those 3 dots, and here is the worksheet. As you can see, it basically has everything. So here's that big question, how does a self-driving car know where to go? Here's the introductory script, and then information about the sliders. There's blank graphs, so your students can kind of fill it in. And there's space under all those slider-based questions, as well as the challenge me questions. There's a link to the tutorial video. And then those real-world applications are summarized at the end with links to related CK-12 concepts. So again, those 3 dots from within the sim. And now I'm quickly going to show you one other option for the worksheet. So if you want to print the sim before, right, you go to class, below the sim tile, so here you can see worksheet, make sure to click on that arrow, and that will open with the same pop-up where you can download the PDF. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, so I think it was a PLIX or a sim in a Canvas platform. I don't know if Katie wants to kind of jump in on that one. I'm pretty sure there's a variety of ways of accessing the sims from the Canvas platform, but I know this embed code, it should work too on your different platforms. You can embed the sim within there, but I'm pretty sure if you search CK-12, the sims do show up in the Canvas platform, but maybe.
Yeah, and it looks like Katie H answered that one, that you can access them from within assignments by browsing to those concepts.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I figured. So I think you can kind of search and then the sim should pop up, or the PLIX. Okay. I'm not sure the other questions. It looks like the Q&A is pretty quiet. I can look at the chat here.
Yeah, if there are any last questions, now's a good time to post them in the Q&A window. A few of you are asking again about the recording of this webinar. We will get it on our webinars page within 24 hours. It'll be on YouTube, and you'll get a follow-up email that, that guides you to our webinars page to find it. So we'll wait another few seconds here to see if anybody else has questions for Katie and Sonia. I'm excited. There's a lot in the chat window about people saying that they didn't know that we had all this. They're unbelievably excited. So that's awesome. We're glad you guys are enthusiastic. Now the questions are pouring in. What do you recommend if I am just getting started with CK-12? It's pretty general. I don't know if this is a science teacher. Sonia, what do you think? Well, where would you send somebody if they're just getting?
Well, I think that's a really good question, because I think it's a great question because we have so much to offer, right? So you might be feeling like, where do I begin? And I think with that, the best advice I can say is like, pick one thing and try it. So like I said, if you're interested in our readings and our text, like pick a FlexBook or a concept read and start with those readings. If you're interested in the PLIX, start with that and try to kind of incorporate PLIX in your class where you see fit, or the simulations. And I think once your students start using, that one tool, then maybe you can branch out and then pick a different tool, like our adaptive practice, or like I said, a variety of other modalities. But my best advice would be pick one thing, try it, and you'll really see that your students very quickly will get comfortable, as well as yourself, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, and as Sonia showed you with FlexBooks 2.0, all those different modalities for a given concept are all surfaced right there at the bottom of the page. So it's really easy just to browse through and see what looks interesting for your class.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Katie, Sonia, AP students, advanced placement students, how can they use the Sims and PLIX in their classroom? Is it any different?
So for PLIX, they usually tend to start out more on the introductory end of things. So if you're working with advanced students and AP classes, it might work well as a warm-up or like some little short activity between other things, or you might skip all the way to the last question, which tends to be the most challenging, the open discussion, which raises some higher level thinking issues.
And for the Sims, I can just kind of quickly show you, we really have a variety of concepts and levels. So I know like in AP, you do a lot of like rotational motion, I believe. So we have like really awesome Sims. The bowling alley Sim, let's say, is just one example where you can, you know, it has a lot of the equations and a lot of sliders here where they can solve for, you know, angular momentum, rotation, and like it talks about like spinning versus rolling and things like that. So here's kind of one of our more advanced simulations. Also, just to kind of highlight again, like in an AP class, like I believe, I'm not sure, you know, let's say Kepler's laws of motion, maybe things that you might teach that extends beyond those like key physics principles or a little more advanced. This one has to do with elliptical orbits and Kepler's 3 laws. And really it has a lot of information as far as kind of orbital motion and that concept. So mainly go to our Sims Browse page and really filter our Sims by concept. And you'll see that we have a variety of levels of which you can explore that Sim. And in an advanced placement, I think you'll be able to find some that highlight topics taught in your course.
Okay, we're looking at a clear Q&A again.
Okay, one thing too for that AP, why don't I go to, I just want to share, if you're talking physics AP, so here I'm on the physics browse page of CK-12. There, if I click on the FlexBook, there is this FlexBook called Open Problems, Adventures in Physics. And this was really meant for like that honors or AP level. So it's a calculus-based physics book. And that's something that I would direct you to as far as like the text and practice problems and a workbook for your students.
Okay, Sonia, in the chat window, a user just said that when all the students are logging in at once, sometimes they find that it takes a little long to access a simulation. Okay. I know we see this, that it's often you know, a bandwidth issue within buildings of when anybody's on one site to access it all at once. Do you have any suggestions of how they could work around this with simulations? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. I mean, I have been there, right? So the idea I would say is like, if they do have one-to-one tablet devices or Chromebooks or laptops, if they could, let's say for a homework assignment, download the sim of their choice through our app for offline use. So it's really easy on the app. Basically, the app browse page looks similar to this. So you could imagine opening the app, and in the top right-hand corner, it's like a click to download. So you download that sim, then basically what should happen is in your class, it should just open onto their device without needing any of that bandwidth or Wi-Fi issues. So that's what I would recommend if that's available to you. If not, like I said, that worksheet might be nice to print out, and then at least they could get started on like reading the intro video or predicting some of the stuff on the graphs while, you know, some of those sims are launching. So those would kind of be my 2 suggestions for you.
Okay, and is that just for the physics lessons, or is it for all of our resources?
Oh, great question. So right now, this Sims app, it does just offer I think there's like 107 physics sims. So as far as the PLIX interactives, which offer all branches across science and math, there's like 1,100 or something. Those ones aren't available currently offline. So I don't know if Katie, maybe if you have other suggestions for getting around loading issues, or, I mean, really, and we'll take it as a suggestion for our team, like something to work on, because really our goal for CK-12 is like anytime, anywhere, any device. So, so we'll take that into account, that we might need to focus on getting offline access for the PLIX.
Yeah, that is something that we can definitely discuss as a team. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off of today's webinar. Thank you all for your attendance today. It was a really great conversation. We hope you learned a lot, and we will see you on an upcoming webinar. Thanks so much.